To focus on international student updates. And without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Marina. Am I turning things over to you?
Yes, you are.
Hey, take it away.
Okay. And can everybody see my screen? Great. Thank you. Okay, well, I'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. My name is Marina Uehara, and I am the Program Director for Student Engagement in ISSS. Um, oh, great. Thank you for confirming. And today I am joined by members of the New Student Transition Team in ISSS, or International Student Scholar Services, in partnership with MELP, the Minnesota English Language Program. Our roles is to support colleges and campus partners welcoming new international students at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. So, a quick activity to set up the tone and the ask for today is for all of you, if you can close your eyes and take a step back in your memory lane and remember what it was like for you to be perhaps a new student or a new staff at your workplace or at your institution on your first day of school or classes. Do you remember what, do you remember the people that made a difference for you? What made you excited about that first day? What was like that five-star experience that you got to get when you first arrived? Now, add on the complex layer of perhaps leaving your family and your friends and everything you have known as being everyday normal, going somewhere that may be completely new for a lot of our new international students. Now, we don't remember the policies but we do remember how we felt when we first arrived. We remember the faces of the people that welcomed us and granted us with a kind welcome to the U. So today, yes, we will be covering a lot of policies and reminders, but we also know that these policies are what helps create a welcoming environment for a lot of students. They help reduce the barriers for our students to feel welcomed and to be able to navigate the University of Minnesota. And today's ask is that it will be up to you to be that friendly face for all of our students. Many of them will be seeing you first, will be meeting with you first, and you will be the first person to welcome them to the University of Minnesota. And so for that, we thank you all for taking on that extra responsibility and what a privilege it is for us to be able to be that first person. This is what the New Student Transition team hopes to achieve collectively with you all. So today we have several members from the New Student Transition team from ISSS and MELP, and they will be introducing themselves right before they start speaking. But we do have Cody, who is our ISSS check-in coordinator, Lisa, our CVIS specialist, and for many of you, it's your first point of contact in our office, as well as Diego from Minnesota English Language Program. In today's agenda, we will include information about mandatory arrival dates, including when and why students must arrive, the new international student requirements, information about different kind of holds, especially registration holds, some basic immigration reminders, details on welcome events that span from required to maybe optional and helpful, wrapping up with how both you and the students can get support from ISSS. I'm also very cognizant that many of you wanted additional information on regarding various immigration updates that international students are experiencing and are expecting in the next few months. And as those are made available to you all, we will continue to share them in a timely manner. However, for today specifically, we wanted to cover information regarding new international student requirements. And so, although we won't be able to cover all of the information that is out there, I encourage you all to later on sign up for the ISSS Advisor training that will be happening in the fall with additional information. So, with that, I'm going to pass it on to my wonderful colleague, Lisa.
Thanks, Marina. Hi, everybody. Lisa Ziegler, she, her, and I'm an international advisor and CVIS specialist with ISSS. And I'm going to talk about arrival dates a bit here. So typically each year we establish a mandatory arrival date for first year students in coordination with our campus colleagues. But this year is a little bit different. The August orientation dates for first year students are more spread out this year. So expecting all first year students to arrive by the same date seemed less practical this year than in previous years. So instead of having a mandatory arrival date this year, we are advising all incoming international students, both NHS and NAS, to arrive at least 2 days before their on-campus orientation. So while we've moved away from the mandatory arrival date this year, the guidance is still very much built around the student's orientation requirement. Now, students may arrive earlier if they wish. New students are allowed to arrive in the US up to 30 days before the program start date listed on their visa document. So for most students, that means they can arrive sometime in early August. And I will pass it on to Cody to talk about our ISSS new student requirements.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everybody. Cody Van Winkle, he, him. I am the check-in coordinator at ISSS. Our new student requirements are now neatly consolidated into one convenient, mostly chronological list, the new Global Gopher required tasks. You can see the list here on the slide. Students will find it in my ISSS. It's divided into pre-arrival and post-arrival tasks, and it's really easy to navigate. iPrep is right up at the top. It's one of the pre-arrival tasks. And ISSS check-in takes up the post-arrival tasks. Students should do the post-arrival check-in as soon as possible after arriving on campus. It's all online. They upload one more document and answer a few questions. It's pretty quick. These required tasks are required so that we can update their records and double-check all their documents and things. But also, it's a regulatory requirement. It's not just an ISSS thing, it's about compliance with federal law. So it's very important that these tasks get done. To ensure that the required tasks get done, students will have the AI hold on their record. The hold will prevent them from changing their registration or registering for future semesters. But look at the effective date. It doesn't go into effect until September 2nd. Students still have all summer to register before the hold does anything. The way to permanently remove the AI hold is completing that list of new Global Gopher required tasks. If students finish their list before September 2nd, the hold never even kicks in. That's what we're aiming for here. If you have late arrivals needing to register after September 2nd, please contact us at issssnew@umn.edu to request that the effective date of the hold be pushed out to give them more time. You also might see an IL hold on a student's account. Don't worry, that one doesn't affect registration at all. But there is another hold that you should be familiar with, and I will pass this to Diego to tell us more about that one. Diego?
Thanks, Cody. Hi, my name's Diego, he, him pronouns. The other hold that he is referring to is the AZ hold, which is placed by admissions and managed by MELP. So the AZ hold does prevent registration. So before their orientation date, a student should attend an AZ hold webinar so they could get their hold temporarily released. At this point, we would have emailed all or most students who are being admitted here in regards to registering for an AZ hold webinar that is being hosted weekly throughout the summer. Once they attend a webinar, students will be emailed another email asking for their course recommendation. And then once they contact us about what course or section they like to choose, we will temporarily release their hold for them to register for their classes on their orientation date. Please keep in mind the AZ hold does not get removed. It gets pushed to another date, which will still allow them to register for the fall. The AZ hold gets removed once the student passes the ESL course. If a student does not attend a webinar by the orientation date, you can still contact MELP directly or contact me, and we can work with you to see if we can register the student regardless. More details can be found on our AZ hold website, or you can also use the QR code on the top right corner of this slide.
All right. In the next few slides, I'm going to discuss a few different immigration topics. And first, I'll be talking about the enrollment requirements for international students. Now, I know that many people on this call are already very familiar with these requirements, and I know that because academic advisors have been so helpful in keeping our students in compliance with the enrollment requirements. In addition, you make great referrals to ISSS for students who are thinking about changing their enrollment and want to make sure they're staying within the regulations. And many of you have helped us with outreach to students who need to fix their enrollment. So big shout out to all of the great academic advisors out there. I just want to start off by acknowledging the knowledge in the room and the role that you already play with helping us with these enrollment requirements. But with that said, a refresher never hurts, and we want to make sure that all advisors have this information. So I'll go over the basic enrollment requirements here. Undergraduate international students are required to take a minimum of 12 credits every fall and spring semester to be considered full-time for immigration purposes. Now, in general, at least 9 of these credits must be in-person or blended courses. The federal visa regulations around online credits state that no more than 1 course or 3 credits of online classes can count towards the full-time enrollment. And we could really get into the weeds on the various ways that 1 course or 3 credits can apply to a student's enrollment. But the simplest way to think of it and the way that we communicate to students is to remember that as long as a student has at least 9 credits of in-person or blended classes, they are fulfilling the enrollment requirements for in-person and online. Now, once students have enrolled in at least 9 credits of in-person or blended courses, the remainder of their credits can be online or remote. And a really key piece of information here with the enrollment requirements is that students must meet these requirements for the entire semester. It's not enough for them to start out the semester with a valid enrollment. They have to keep this enrollment for the whole term. So every term I work with students who drop an in-person course and then their in-person online enrollment is off balance and they need to make a change. And those can be difficult situations. I'm not aware of any way to prevent it in PeopleSoft. I've tried, I've looked into it, but unfortunately that is the situation. So your advising of students around these enrollment requirements is very helpful as they are just starting out their academic career at the U of M. Now you might be wondering, how do I know whether a course is considered in person or online for immigration purposes? Well, a course is considered in person, whether a course is considered in person or online is all about how it's coded in the university system. So in-person and blended courses are considered in person for immigration purposes. Online and remote courses are considered online for immigration purposes. And we do communicate this information to students in a variety of ways, including through our iPrep course, communications from ISSS in our weekly update, through the check-in process, through our welcome sessions, and through our website. So even though we're communicating it a lot, it's great to have that knowledge in the colleges as well. And we can move on to the next slide. Thank you. All right. So next, I'm going to briefly touch on the visa process. While the focus of this presentation is preparing to welcome new students to campus and getting ready for orientation, we do want to give some context to what students need to do just to get here. So as a very basic overview of the process, first, a student requests their visa document from ISSS. That's either an I-20 for F1 visa holders or a DS-2019 for J-1 visa applicants. And before a student can request their visa document, they must have confirmed their admission and they must provide documentation of funding for their first year of study. That's the standard. Once a student has their visa document, they complete the visa application, which is called the DS-160. There are 2 different fees associated with the visa application. There's the visa fee and there's also something called a CVIS fee. But once students complete their visa application, they can schedule their visa interview. When the student goes for their visa interview, it is a very brief interaction with a consular officer. I think 3 to 5 minutes might even be generous. So really, the student is just asked a few questions about their plans and how they're going to fund their education. And then the consular officer makes a decision on the visa application. If the visa is approved, then comes the wait time for processing. It used to only take maybe about a week or so for a student to get their passport back after being approved for a visa. But you may be aware that as of last summer, there is a new social media vetting requirement for visa issuance for students. And this is making the visa process take a little bit longer. Somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks is what we were seeing last summer. Now, historically, the Department of State prioritizes F1 visa appointments in the summer, but visa appointment availability may still be limited in some cases. Knock on wood, but so far we haven't really been hearing of many issues with students being able to schedule a timely visa appointment. But there is really high demand over the summer, so we're still waiting to see if there are going to be any issues with that this year. But of course, if students come to you with any questions about their visas, ISSSnew at umn.edu is the correct referral email. And we can move on. Thank you. All right, now you may have heard that there have been a number of immigration changes over the last year that have affected many different immigrant groups and visa holders. And some of these changes have impacted our international students. So these are just a handful of the immigration changes that we have seen, and 3 of them I'm highlighting because they are impactful to our incoming students. So like I mentioned on the last slide, the social media vetting, the visa issuance process is just taking longer due to the enhanced social media vetting that started last summer. There are new residency rules for visa applications. It used to be the case that a student could apply for their visa at any U.S. embassy or consulate in the world. This was particularly useful for students who could not get a timely visa appointment in their country of residence. But now students must apply for their visa in their country of nationality or residence. You may have heard that there is a travel ban in effect as well. The initial travel ban was issued in June 2025, and an expanded travel ban was issued in December 2025. And at this moment, there are students from 38 countries that are impacted by the travel ban. They are not able to obtain a student visa at this time. The proposed shift to fixed admission, proposed being the key word here, it is not final yet, but it's something that it's going to be a big change and something that I believe many campus colleagues have heard about. So I'd be remiss to not include it among this list of key immigration updates. So I'm not going to go into detail with it here, but there are a number of changes in the proposed rule. But really, the core of it is to limit a student's admission and approved immigration status to a fixed period of time, rather than having it open-ended and based on enrollment as it has been for a long time. So any request from a student to extend their status would not only need to be reviewed and approved by ISSS, but also U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, if and when this final rule goes through. We're anticipating that the final rule will be published soon, and we will be posting updates to our immigration updates webpage once that happens. All right, late arrival requests. Now, hopefully our incoming students will be able to secure their visas and arrive on time. But even if we do start hearing from students pretty soon that they are expecting or experiencing backlogs in visa appointments, it's too early to give up hope of finding a timely visa appointment. Like I mentioned, student visa appointments tend to be prioritized over the summer, and additional appointment slots do get released. But regardless, you may start to hear the question from concerned incoming students, how late can I arrive? So since there are multiple teams involved in getting new undergraduate international students here, it can be difficult to make proper referrals when it comes to late arrivals. So here are some key dates and an explanation of when ISSS needs to be involved and when we don't. Now, NHS first-year students arriving by the start of Welcome Week, which starts on September 2nd this year, ISSS does not need to be looped in. The I-20 program start date is based on Welcome Week, since that's mandatory for all first-year students. So from an immigration perspective, NHS students do not need to arrive before 9/2. I mean, they do need to because of their orientation requirement. But like I mentioned before, the arrival date guidance is based off of orientation requirements. So students just need to work with the college to ensure that the orientation requirements are met if they will be missing their on-campus orientation date. Now, NHS students arriving after 9/2, ISSS does need to be looped in because, like I mentioned, from an immigration perspective, NHS students are expected to arrive no later than September 2nd, the start of Welcome Week. So if a student has permission to miss Welcome Week, they should get in touch with ISSS New to request an updated I-20. Any arrival after September 8th, the first day of class, ISSS really discourages this, and this goes for both first-year and transfer students, as I believe many academic advisors do as well. It is possible from an immigration perspective for students to arrive after the start of classes, but they would need an updated I-20 from ISSS and permission from their in-person course instructors to miss class. Approval for arrival more than a week after the start of classes would be exceptionally rare, and we really don't want anyone arriving after the first day of class, ideally. Students who need to defer their admission, admissions is the correct referral for that. And I will pass it back to Marina now.
Thanks, Lisa. I love to take a couple minutes to share with you all a quick overview of the Global Gopher Experiences webinar, or the GGE series. It's a series of sessions designed to support new international students, undergrad, first year transfer students, actually all new international students arriving at the University of Minnesota as they transition to the U. While all of these events are optional, we highly encourage students to attend. They offer valuable guidance, offer opportunities for students to ask questions. It really puts a face to a lot of the emails that we've been sending out, and it helps students feel more confident, connected, and prepared as they begin their academic journey. You can find all of the information on that I will mention today on our GGE website. So some key updates. We do offer online webinar series as well as in-person events and our Global Gopher caucuses. For this year particularly, one quick update is that undergraduate admissions is now coordinating the undergraduate GGE webinars from February to June. And they pass on the baton to ISSS in July when we start talking about off-campus living, how to sign a lease, housing, and health insurance. So we're super excited about this partnership. One webinar that I would like to highlight and an opportunity for all of you to be involved is the August 19th Meet Your College Fellows. It is a casual virtual opportunity for undergrad students to connect with academic advisors, current students, and other staff. So this is what we call the faces of the college and the spaces that they will be a part of. Anita Fung in our office has reached out to all of the colleges that typically participate and have students. And if you haven't received an email from them, please let me know. Otherwise, please let us know by emailing us at isuccess@umn.edu, but we would love to collaborate. Also, another key programming is going to be our September 1st in-person academic success day. This is an all-day event where we invite various academic resources to be part of the fair. We have numerous welcomes and academic workshops in partnership with Walter Library. This students get to get connected with other peers, and really this is all happening at the beginning of the semester. So I am very aware that September 1st is also an orientation date. So I have been meeting with the colleges that have specific orientation programming happening to make sure that either we're not in competition or that we prioritize our students going to your orientations. So if you're concerned about that, I believe I have met with every college that was involved, so we can figure out a strategy in case a student ends up at our session instead of yours. The priority is orientation, but for a student that missed orientation and hasn't attended the in-person pieces and you would like to have them attend supplemental programming, this really would be that place to be referring students to. We also have identity-based caucuses for international students who identify as Black, LGBTQIA, Latinx, Muslim students, our students who are parents, students who have disabilities, and more. These spaces really help foster community and belonging. And you can learn more about all of these groups on our website, as well as following us on our social media Instagram account. Now I'm going to pass it on over to Cody to introduce more about the welcome sessions that he's organizing. And I'm also seeing a lot of questions on the chat, and we'll be addressing those at the end of our presentation.
Great. Thanks, Marina. Hi again, everybody. It's Cody. You are probably already familiar with our welcome sessions. The ISSS welcome session is required for first-year students, but it is not tied to the AI hold. It is not one of the required tasks. It's part of orientation. First-year students will attend an in-person session during their August orientation, which is August 26th, 27th, or 31st. No separate sign-up is required. It's built into their orientation schedule already. There is no in-person requirement for transfer students, but they are encouraged to attend the welcome session for them on September 1st. This is not part of their orientation, so pre-registration is required. Next, Lisa is going to tell us about some service updates. Lisa?
Thanks, Cody. The ISSS office will be operating on a hybrid schedule for most of the summer. From June 1st to August 14th, our office will be open only 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays we'll be providing remote services. So if you are referring a student to us, if you have someone in person and they need to get in touch with ISSS, just make sure that you and or the student are checking our office hours before hiking it over to the West Bank. But throughout the summer, students can connect with us by email, virtual drop-ins. We'll have in-person drop-ins on our office hours, days, and Zoom appointments. Then from August 17th to September 11th, we will be offering in-person services Monday through Friday. Our office will be open every weekday to welcome our new students to campus and welcome back our continuing students. Now, the best ISSS contact email to refer new students to and for university staff to contact with questions about new students is issssnew@umn.edu. This inbox is managed by a team of ISSS staff with roles related to new students. There's 3 of us here right now who are part of the ISSS new inbox, myself, Cody, and Marina, and then 2 more colleagues, Nucci and Anita, also help out with that inbox. So we are the people you'll be connecting with in ISSS new. And as in previous summers, we will be available over GChat this summer as well. So if you run into an urgent question, during an orientation and need to get in touch with us right away about a hold or whatever new student issue is coming up, you can GChat ISSS new from June through the start of classes. All right, back to Marina.
Thanks, Lisa. So we do have some additional links and resources for you all. They're hyperlinked here, but the slides are shared with all of you. So some of the ones that I would like to highlight is obviously the new Global Gopher required tasks, as well as the International Student Preparation course, or IPREP. And we have added all of the links that we had just mentioned. One thing that we did add, or that I want to highlight, is the ISSS current messages on federal immigration changes. So that is where all of our information will be updated, and you will see the emails that are going out to students, as well as resources for students during a crisis in their home country. So although we're hoping that students are not experiencing a crisis when they first arrive here, we know that that could be a possibility as well. So please, again, the ISS's new email account is the best place to get started so that you can get connected with the appropriate folks in the office. Additional information to add, we do have a website dedicated to helping academic advisors find information about different forms that you may come across while working with international students. So this used to be the ISSS Advisor Guide in a PDF format. So it is now on a website, so you can bookmark it and return to it a bit more easily. If there's any changes that happens, it gets updated, and so you don't have to hyperlink different PDFs. This page has information around work authorization, reduced course loads, enrollment requirements, returning from a leave of absence, program extensions, and more. Again, although we didn't cover all of this information today, ISSS does host every semester an advisor training session where they will cover a lot of this information. If it's anything non-related to ISSS new students, then you can reach out to isss@umn.edu or 612-626-7100. With that, this wraps up our presentation. We shared a lot of information. We don't expect you all to remember everything. And so again, Lisa has mentioned this. ISSS New is your main point of contact for anything new student related. We would rather be there to answer all of the questions than having you have to navigate the lots of policies and information that we just shared. We know that it's a lot, and we do appreciate when advisors really become knowledgeable in the process, but we also know that it's quite a bit. So please feel comfortable to reach out to us and ask us any questions. We will be at the breakout room session, and I don't see any questions.
No, so it's probably a good time to actually just move into breakouts. Marie, if you wouldn't mind pulling down your slides, I'm going to pull up mine and do sort of a final just wrap up of the day. Okay. I'm going to share here. There we go. Okay, so thank you so much, ISSS and all of our presenters for today. Before we move into breakouts, I just wanted to give another shout out for the evaluation form that we're going to be sending out. My colleague Sarah will also be posting it to the chat in a minute here, but we really hope you fill out the evaluation. It's a little different than usual because not only are we asking for your feedback for the session today, but we really want to hear what your training ideas are for next year. So this form serves two purposes. The advisor training group will be meeting over the summer and they want to know what you want to know. So send us your ideas for training suggestions. So as I promised earlier, we have time set aside for additional questions, and we are going to open up 3 different breakout rooms. My colleague Sarah is working on programming those right now. There will be a room for OTE, the orientation program for International Student and Scholar Services, as well as the Disability Resource Center. And these rooms will be open for 15 minutes. So we will, because we're running a little bit early, we'll close them at 12:10. So we'll have them open for 15 minutes until 12:10. So you'll be able to move between those breakout rooms to get all of your questions answered. Thanks so much, everybody, for all you do. And go ahead, Sarah, and open up the rooms.